Expectations this year.
Yeah.
Can you
Good.
talk about that?
Yeah. I'm like, finally, okay. You know, not even, people are really like, is that going to change how you coach? I was like, no. That was the plan all along. So I just say, finally, and thank God. And, you know, it's about time. That kind of stuff.
And what is Pepper at? I mean, just to have a big inside presence, and how does she look to you?
She looks great. Her size is really big, but her leadership and her, she's one of the hardest workers, maybe the hardest worker on the team, which is amazing for her size. And she really digs deep and she grinds, and she's just this workhorse. So she's physically gifted. A lot of times it's usually the average sized kid that feels like they have to outwork someone. And when your biggest, most imposing kid feels like she has to outwork people, that's a good sign.
We're in day one. I know there's been, you work, all of you, but can you maintain the same intensity all the way through? You don't play a real game for what, 5 weeks or something like that? I mean, will there be ebbs and flows to camp a little bit?
Not really. This is it. This is how we do it. In fact, I had to teach a lot more than I wanted to because the concepts weren't there. I assumed they were, and they weren't. So I had to slow it down a little bit. But that's how we go, and you either keep up or, I mean, a 4-minute scrimmage and 30 seconds in, they were dead. So you know how we play, and we couldn't play that way for 35 seconds today before we retired. So we got to keep. We just, turnovers are forgiven, and we just make a lot of mistakes early, but we make sure our tempo and intensity are up.
Because of where you've been, where you were last year, what's expected, both internally and externally. Did you change the message at all to them as far as like that first day of camp sort of thing?
Yeah, you know what the difference is. You don't want to assume anything, but you're not sitting here hinging on every game. Like every game. Like I went through the last couple seasons where every game was, going to determine a lot. And I just don't feel that way. I feel like we have talent, we have depth. A little bit of adversity here and there we can handle. Whereas, before we were skating on thin ice, I just feel like now it's like, it's the process, and let's give a lot of people looks, and let's look, a little bit more towards being the best team we can January, February, March. And it is a different message.
Shanice at one point, stopped things, was hollering at her teammates.
Yeah.
What does she bring leadership-wise?
Yeah. Well, she's, we have a ton of competitors on this team. I don't know if you noticed, but she's a vocal competitor. A lot of other kids compete, but they're quiet about it, like Bay or Pepper. But Shanice has got that leadership that she's just more extroverted, and it helps me a lot. I mean, I don't have to yell as much because the kids are yelling for me.
Do you have to put pressure on her to do that, or does that come from within?
No, it boils deep down in her. I mean, she'd love for me to say no. I ask her to do it, but it just boils deep down in there. It just comes out of her naturally.
How do you keep them from getting nervous about the pressure? Number 4 ranking, number 5 ranking. How do you keep them loose when there are such high expectations?
I think it's all on the staff. I mean, it's how we are just teachers. We see mistakes. We don't talk in terms of, well, if you don't do that, you won't beat Tennessee, and if you make that mistake, you're going to lose. We don't talk like that. It's just like, let's be great, and let's talk about the process a lot. So we're not, I'm as relaxed as I've been since I've been here, and I'm not afraid to let you know how confident I am. I'm not afraid of it. I believe that we got a lot of parts to work with. I'm going to have a heck of a task personally, making sure the combinations work. Whereas last year I didn't have as many combinations in my head going into games. I don't know what it's going to look like a month from now. I really don't. So I have a lot of homework. I have a lot of film study to do. I have a lot of talking to the players and trying to figure out who's comfortable. So I got a lot more work this year, but I'm relaxed. If that's my job, I can do that.
Do you have in your head, you think you guys can go all the way? Can you win everything? Do you even think about that?
I don't, but I can tell you that it's different to know that you've got a team that, I'm not as, what is it going to look like when we roll into Maryland? We have that experience, so it's just a different feel of how do I make this particular group of people the best they can be? I think that team at its best has a good shot at something special, but I don't have to think that way as much.
Right. And how does it feel to have 15 players? You've never had that, right? Yeah.
It's amazing. So at the end of every practice now, we pick just off the top of our heads, the coach's net. We just said these are the top 8 for today. And Stephanie Eberstrom says to me, I wasn't top 8. I go, yeah, well, we needed an extra guard. You were the last one picked. We're very honest, who played well, who's having a good practice. And we're going to give that group a shot at the end of every practice. They're going to scrimmage together. We'll see how that looks. And then the next practice, whoever played the hardest, we'll put those 8 together. And we'll just keep working through it.
So like everything, the competition internally is a driving force for a lot of these girls.
Yeah, which is nice. I mean, my coaches are really happy they don't have to play every second practice. I don't have to play anymore like I used to, so that helps. And there's a lot of size on the second squad or whatever. They're playing against each other, but they're playing against size. It used to be we'd have this advantage, but in practice we'd be playing against each other, and then we go and we'd be overwhelmed by the other team's bench and their size. And now we have that throughout the roster, which helps a lot.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.